Hello world, my name is John and this is part 11 of my crazy life story. So in my previous video I mentioned that I started cleaning Walmarts in United States, of course illegally, and my first job was in Hinesville, Georgia. Alright, and I forgot to mention a couple of things that happened in Hinesville. Uh, One of them I wanted to mention that the double wide trailer that we were staying in, and the one that was getting so hot during the summer, was that it was really close to railroad tracks, and every time the train was passing by, the whole uh, trailer was shaking like crazy. So when you were trying to get some sleep during the day, you got, instant wake up call by passing by train, getting, instant massage. The whole thing was shaking like crazy, and so it was pretty much impossible to get enough sleep in that trailer. Also because all the other people that were staying in there with me were basically couples. I was usually always like the only single person uh, in the apartment or trailer. All the other people that were working with me were usually couples, and there was lots of fucking around me. So everybody was fucking, and nobody would like worry about not making any noise or whatever. So everybody was fucking, and the trailer was shaking. It was so frustrating for me because I didn't have nobody to fuck. So I wanted to, of course, get involved with a woman. So I was, at Walmart, I was trying to hit on girls, or some girls were even hitting on me, mostly black girls. And one of them girls was this black girl. She was named Shay, uh, and she wasn't really my type. But she was hitting on me every day, and she was kind of, sweet girl. Um she was about, I don't know, my age, and she was wearing a crazy haircut, and she was wearing lots of gold chains and golden rings, and I don't know if she was married or divorced, but she had 3 kids, and she was kind of thick. She wasn't fat or skinny, but she was kind of thick, and she was always like trying to be nice to me, and I knew she was wanting to like kind of get involved, and mostly after I told her how much money I'm making, and I was making a lot more money than she was as a cashier or whatever she was doing at Walmart store. And one thing I remember, because one of the first things that I ever bought in States was a CD, a portable CD player, so I could listen to some music, while I was trying to fall asleep. So from time to time, I bought me a CD, or I stole a CD in in the music section of the Walmart store. So I've stolen few CDs too, and she suggested me Anita Baker, if I remember that correctly, which was like a soul music, and I liked R&B and hip hop and rap. So that's what I was listening to at that time. Lots of rap music and hip hop and soul and R&B. So she suggested me Anita Baker, and it was actually one of the CDs that I had to buy, because she was like, come with me, to the CD section. Come with me. I'll show you something. And she showed me the CD, and I couldn't steal it at that time, so I had to actually pay like $18 for it or whatever. It was one of the CDs that I bought, and this is the moment that I remember. And another thing that I remember from, one of the first things that I remember from Heinesville Walmart was the crazy hype, with the employee, brainwashing. I literally thought that I returned back to communism, like what it used to be when our country was a communist country, and we were getting brainwashed with shouting out all these slogans, so I always had to laugh at group of employees, and the manager was shouting W, and the people would go W, and she goes A, and they go A, L. And every meeting that they had in the morning, they were doing this, and clapping, double A, W, A, it was so funny. Man, I was always laughing at them, why are they doing this, Anyway, I know this is, kind of motivation, techniques, for the employees to do the best job that they can, but I didn't at that time. I didn't really think that's necessary, and uh, but it's happening again at my home country right now. So all these employee motivation stuff already hit us too. So the same thing is going on over here too. But I don't really care about this fucking shit. And another thing I noticed when I came to America was that those cell phones that people were using, flip cell phones, old cell phones. I mean, the cell phone situation in America was, compared to our country and how fast it was developing at that time, the GSM and all that. In America, it was like 100 years behind us. I mean, people didn't even know what SMS message was, and at the time I left Czechia, the SMS was pretty big thing. I mean, we would probably mostly just communicate via SMS messages rather than making phone calls, because it was cheaper, and it started being like really popular, and and then you come to United States, and you want to get a cell phone at a local cell phone carrier, and they wouldn't even offer SMS texting, or they offered it at a extra monthly rate. So I didn't when I got my first cell phone in States, I didn't even have the option of sending text messages. It was kind of crazy too, and in America they were still using the analog network instead of GSM digital that we had in Czech. So they were kind of behind, but I understand all this, that the cell phones first started on analog network in America, and then it moved to Europe. And by the time it moved, I mean, by the time our country opened to world, we jumped straight to the new stuff. So I understand all that, but later on it all got kind of evened out, and these days, I mean, it doesn't even need to be mentioned, that everything is where it needs to be, like everywhere except North Korea, of course. North Korea. So that's that. And then I moved, they moved me to Americus, Georgia, right? That's why I started working as a supervisor, stripping, waxing floors, and I was taking care of five people cleaning crew. And I was already at that time getting really tired, because I had so much sleep deficiency, and I was in so much pain. but I still busted my ass, every night. I was getting sweat and I worked hard because I needed that money. Anyway, 6 months uh, in, I realized that I don't have any money saved up, and there was a time that I originally was planning to stay in United States, just 6 months, save up some money and go back home and continue with my business. So my mother, in those 6 months, my mother closed my gym. I lost my business and my home, and after 6 months I didn't have any money because in the beginning I was sending all the money I was sending home. Then I bought the vehicle, Lincoln town car, and I spent some money on that, on fixing that, and I spent money on living expenses and etc. So 6 months in, I didn't have any money saved up. So I've decided that I can't really leave. Uh, I can't really go back home. I didn't know what I would do when I get back. So I've decided I need to stay in America, in Americus, Georgia, and just keep working and saving up money. And I realized I'm gonna be here for a very long time. I didn't know how long I'm gonna be here or whatever, and I basically stopped counting days or weeks. Like in the beginning you start counting like first day, second day, third day, then it's weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then you start counting months, and all of a sudden a couple of years is gone. So so after 6 months I realized I'm not going back home, and at that moment I became illegal immigrant in United States, and I didn't even bother with extending my tourist visa or anything. I just stayed there, and I didn't worry about any kind of paperwork or whatever. I just told myself, fuck it. And one of the things one of the conditions for me to become a supervisor was to get a American tax ID. So that's what I got, in order to be able to cash the checks for all the people that were working for me, with me. So I was cashing like large checks. So I had to get a bank account, and in SunTrust Bank, which no longer exists, and that's how it works. So every other week I got a check, and the very first thing I bought from the money I made, in the first month or couple of weeks, the very first more expensive thing I bought was a camcorder. I actually bought a camcorder because I knew that I have to record everything, for the memories, and like what I'm going through, that if I don't record that, nobody's gonna believe me, and that I did all this stuff. And so I bought a mini DV camcorder for the first money I made. I think it cost like $1,300, and at that time I was making like $2,500 because I was working as a supervisor during the night, and then we were switching on the day shifts. So I was making like $2,500 a month, which was insane money for me, and I was trying to save up as much as possible, and we didn't have a very expensive living. We were paying $500 for a 3-bedroom apartment, which was like 5 minutes from Walmart in Americus. So my Lincoln didn't get I mean, it didn't even warm up, so it didn't give me any trouble with the busted gasket, head gasket. So I didn't have much trouble with that. I didn't have to add water in the radiator too often. So, and I was still charging people for gas. I was the only one who had a car. So, so that's how we rolled, and you know, we were working 7 nights a week. Sometimes, you know, we were able to take a night off or whatever, but not all of us. I mean, I don't remember I ever took a night off because I was a supervisor. Uh, Maybe I did sometimes, but we were supposed to work 7 nights a week, and the only official night off we had on Thanksgiving, before the Black Friday, I think, when the store was closed before the Black Friday, and that's actually for the first time when I experienced the Black Friday and how crazy people get over some kind of discounts. And I never joined this rush. I mean, this is kind of crazy. And you know, when you work in the Walmart, you know, you notice in, you know, the seasonal changes and how they change the merchandise in the shelves. And you know, you got the Christmas and Easter and Valentine's and Thanksgiving and Columbus Day and 4th of July and Halloween. You know, every month Americans have at least once a month some kind of holiday. And you know, and I just kept, you know, watching changing the seasonal stuff in the shelves. I remember that. And you know, also people that I was working with, you know, they came and left. You know, people kept, you know, coming and leaving, and I was the one that was staying there. So I met a bunch of people from Czech Republic, mostly couples, but also some friends, like guys. I stayed in touch with some of the people, you know, even after they left, but it's all gone. It's all like very long time ago, and I'm not in touch with, you know, anybody. And I even have you know, like hard times remembering all their names. But I remember some names like Peter and Lenka. They're a crazy couple, but she was really beautiful, and he was like really stupid. And then there was Mark and his girlfriend and Roman. And then I met Danielle. I remember Danielle, and I actually met a couple of girls. I actually fucked Danielle a couple times, and I fucked some other girl that I fell in love with, and we had sex a couple times, but well, none of it really worked out. And and during that work, you know, I was always thinking, you know, how I can make it, you know, how I can do this kind of business like my boss is doing, you know, like become a contractor and supply labor to cleaning companies. But you know, I was told I need a green card. So what I was trying to do, I was, you know, trying to find me an American girlfriend, not a Czech girlfriend, but American girlfriend. So while I was working, I was trying to hit on girls, you know, black girls, white girls, whatever, but I didn't succeed. So I could never really find me any American girlfriend to help me get legalized in America and eventually, you know, start a business and make some more money. You know, because my bosses, they were getting filthy rich of this. And you know, one of my bosses, he opened a nightclub bar in Atlanta. You know, and you know, and I felt kind of stuck. But I know I have to keep working and saving money, and also, you know, I started noticing how much I was shrinking and losing my muscle. And so with this one guy, Martin, we joined a gym that was like right behind our apartment complex. So we joined a gym and we started working out, and I started booking up, you know, proteins and stuff. But I couldn't do that for long because I didn't sleep much. I didn't get any rest, and basically I was burning the candle from both ends. And one day one day stuff happened to me, and I got this, you know, when I was trying to sleep, I got this, my heart started beating so fast, and I think it stopped for a while. Basically, I was getting so exhausted, and at that time I didn't know what it was, and later on it was diagnosed as panic attacks or whatever. But one night in 2001, uh, 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 I went to emergency with this, and I told them what happened to me, and they probably didn't understand what I was trying to explain them, my symptoms and what happened to me, and they just told me it's my stomach. Anyway, I didn't feel at that time, I didn't feel good overall, because I forgot to mention that at the time I was leaving to United States, I actually had some kind of kidney infection, and ever since I came to America, I was dealing with some kind of kidney issues, and I had, you know, some kidney pains, and I was trying to drink some kidney teas, and I was always, I never felt good, you know, with my urinary system, and you know, they told me it's a stomach, you know, which I knew it wasn't stomach, and but my stomach was hurting me too, and I had lots of acid reflux, and anyway, I was dealing with all this, and I was still working, you know, 7 nights a week, and even if we drank a beer, sometimes we would still go to work next day, and even if I get cold or a flu or whatever, if I got sick, I would still go to work, and so that's when my heart arrhythmia kind of got worse, or I noticed it, or they called it, you know, panic attacks. So I had it since then. I had it from time to time, and I ended up in hospital on more occasions, but I'm gonna talk about it later. So anyway, what I was gonna talk about, I forgot. So I'm gonna talk about some more stuff in my next video. I'm gonna cut this one short because I don't really remember what I wanted to record. So I'm gonna put that together so I don't forget, and talk to you later.